All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the Everything College Football Podcast. Today I'll be doing my preview and prediction for the famous Idaho Potato Bowl. 3.5-point line in favor of San Jose State. Over under 54.5. Tuesday, December 20th, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN. Albertson Stadium in Boise, Idaho will be the site of this one. And Eastern Michigan won the only meeting all the way back in 1987. Look at the EMU offense. They have pretty respectable balance. Samson Evans leads the way with 1,084 yards and 10 touchdowns. Really good runner for the Eagles. He's emerged this year in his senior season, 4.8 yards per carry, 13 touchdowns rushing. Very good number for him. Looking at about almost 100 yards per contest on the ground for him. Jalen Jackson, not too bad, right behind him, about 4.2 yards per carry as well. But I think mainly this offense has some pretty impressive balance as well. Of quarterback, they've had a few different options this season, but Taylor Powell has, certainly, especially in the last two games, separated himself as the starter. 1,800 yards, 14 touchdowns, 7 picks on the year. Completes about 65% of his passes on 30 attempts a game. 226 yards per contest for Powell. So this is an offense that's certainly, pretty notable balance. And I think the most important thing about this offense is they have a nice little trio at receiver. Dylan Drummond, he's been around a long time. 30 grabs, 440 yards, 3 touchdowns. Tanner Knew, 42 grabs, 592, another 9 touchdowns there. And then Hassan Budon, 47 receptions, which is a team high. 451 yards and 4 touchdowns. It's about under, 10 yards per catch, but they have reliable pass catchers. 5'8", 174. You'd like to see him unleash some of that quickness a little bit more. And then Darius Lassiter, he's not even bad. 34 grabs, 363 yards for him. This is an Eastern Michigan offense. Again, that's pretty good balance. I think the offensive line this year, it's been a less than stellar unit for the most part. I think they've been able to hold up quite well, especially City So at guard. I think he's had a really impressive year. Brian Dooley at tackle has not been too bad as well. After that, though, it's kind of a fall off. The rest of the offensive line is not too up to par, but I do think this is a really good Eastern Michigan offense. There's some pretty ridiculous balance. The San Jose State offense, Chevin Cordero came over from Hawaii, and I think he's had a really good year. 27.5 points per game for this offense. Only 4 picks for Cordero. 2,885 yards, 61% completion rate. He started the entirety of this season for San Jose State. Not as polished in the backfield. Kyrie Robinson, 696 yards and 10 touchdowns. He's certainly been productive. They only run the ball about 28 times per game. Cordero was right behind him, 129 attempts for only 215 yards, though, and 8 touchdowns. So those are the only 2 guys that get carries in this backfield. Cordero, though, he's really the heart and soul of this offense, it seems. Double-figure carries in almost every single game this year. Been sacked a good bit. He doesn't really have many yards. Only one game this year of over 30 yards rushing the ball. So, that's not really a part of his game, even though he does have all those attempts. You look at receiver, though, they have 2 really good options in Elijah Cooks and Justin Lockhart. Cooks leads the team in every category. 63 grabs, 983 yards, and 10 touchdowns. Lockhart, has about half of that. 0 touchdowns for him, though, but 34 grabs, 566 yards. Jermaine Braddock as well, 26 for 295. This is an offense, Charles Ross as well, whenever he was healthy. He was a producer for them. He has not played many weeks, and I don't anticipate he'll play here. This is a passing attack that I think certainly is impressive at times. Seems to be very inconsistent, but they're more of a one-dimensional offense. And again, they put up less than 4 touchdowns per contest. So, we'll see what happens with this offense. Only 356 yards per contest. I certainly think they have potential to be better than that in this game. But, for the last month or so plus, they have not hit 400 yards in a game. They have been able to win games. They've split most of those. They've actually split those games, 3-3 over the last 6. And before that, their offense was, pretty red hot. So they've certainly cooled down. We'll see what they can do here in this one. I don't think the play per average number is bad. 5.6 yards per play. That's pretty impressive. So San Jose State, their offense, a little bit not as good as EMU's, but I definitely think they have their impressive parts as well. Looking at the Eastern Michigan defense, 29 points per contest, 370 yards per game. Chase Klein, 87 tackles for him. This defense is led by an exceptional defensive end in Jose Ramirez, 19.5 tackles for loss, 12 sacks. He's one of the guys I highlighted in the preseason for them, but I didn't think he'd have this type of year. He's also third on the team with 63 tackles, right behind Joe Sparco, who's got 84. I mean, this is just a front seven that seems to be pretty active. Tim Grant-Randall, 4.5 TFL for him. Jordan Crawford, a senior up front for them as well. But Ramirez, though, these are just absurd numbers. He's towards the nation's lead in all of those, in sacks and tackles for loss. This is certainly a defense that also gets some help in the secondary. Keep on Shine, 11 pass breakups for him. This is a defense I think's come a long way for the most part. And Contavious Scandrett, he's probably arguably their best defensive back. 19th in FBS and opponent completion rating. So, they got Ramirez up front that really helps generate a lot of pressure for them. And this secondary certainly feeds off that. So I think this is a really good football team. Grant Truman, as an edge defender as well, has not been as impressive. He does some good work for them when he's in coverage, though. Top to bottom, this is a defense I think has made a lot of improvements. They don't have too many strong individual players, but the ones they do have, like Klein, Ramirez, and then Scandaret in the back end, they certainly leave their impact on this defense. I think Eastern Michigan, pretty respectable unit coming into this one. The San Jose State defense, from a statistical standpoint, a little bit better. 20.3 points per game, 330 yards per contest. They really seem to stuff the run. They have an elite edge defender in their own. Filami Fihoko, 12.5 tackle for loss, 9 sacks, a pair of forced fumbles. Cade Hall, he was the Conference Player of the Year, I believe it was 2 years ago. He was not great a season ago. He's bounced back pretty well. 32 tackles, almost half of those tackles for loss. He's got 12 of those, 7.5 sacks. So they got a pair of edge defenders here that really get after it. It's certainly an impressive part of their defense. Kyle Harmon, another veteran that's been around a long time, 94 tackles this year. Had 130 plus a couple years ago for Harmon. He's certainly a leader in the middle that's, racked up a lot of production. And safety Chase Williams, Naheem Shelton, those are the leaders in the secondary for this football team. I think this is a Spartan defense that also has played very well, and they're really feeding off some of their best players. They weren't too great, though. A 3-game stretch before they played Hawaii, gave them 400-plus yards in 3 straight. And this defense has certainly had their problems. I think for the most part, though, it has been a really good defense because those are the only 3 games all year they allowed over 400 yards. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. They do have 18 forced turnovers on the year. Their ability to get into the backfield, these two, edge defenders, is certainly going to be something that Eastern Michigan, with a less than stellar O-line, is going to have to make up for. Looking at the final thoughts and prediction on this one, I think this is going to be a really good game. It seems to be really close on paper. Both these teams, I think on both sides, are pretty, even, I would say. Eastern Michigan, I think, get a run game going for them. Should be able to find some balance, I'd say, for their offense. And then San Jose State, the pass rush, with 119th in FBS and sacks. They need to get pressure, and I think they certainly can with Hall and Fihoko. Those guys have really been, perennial run stoppers more so than pass rushers this year. And then I think those long drives on offense, usually when you watch this football team, that's usually what they establish is some longer drives and, give this defense an opportunity to work. Only 20.3 points per game allowed all year. I think that's really going to be a good opportunity for them. Prediction in this one, I'm going to take Eastern Michigan, 34-30. I know they're 3.5-point dogs in this one. I like them to cover and win outright. It's bowl season. You got to take plenty of underdogs. I think this is a good shot to do it. This offense seems to have much more balance than San Jose State does, pretty evenly matched units. And then Eastern Michigan, they're not too bad against the pass, and that's what the Spartans love to do. Cordero, very impressed with what he's able to do. But I think for the most part, Jose Ramirez leading this defense, I think they're going to play well here. They're going to come out to Idaho. They're going to show out. I see them winning by 4 points, potentially even more. But I'm going to take the Eagles in this one. They don't really perform very well in bowl games historically, but I do think this is one they're certainly going to have a leg up in. And it should be an exciting one. Famous Idaho Potato Bowl on ESPN, December 20th. Make sure you tune in. I think it'll be a pretty respectable game. It's going to be it for today's episode, guys. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. See you next time.